Hey there, future scientists. Ready for another deep dive?
Always excited to explore with you.
Awesome. So today we're going to focus on something pretty amazing, something you use all the time, but maybe haven't thought too much about.
Let me guess.
Yep. We're talking about the sense of hearing.
Fascinating choice.
I know, right? And we've got a lot of ground to cover, from what sound actually is, to the magic of music, and even a bit of a philosophical mystery.
Sounds intriguing. Lead the way.
All right, let's start with the basics.
Yeah.
What exactly is sound?
Well, at its heart, sound is all about vibration.
Vibration. Okay, I think I'm following.
Think of when you strike a drum. You can see the drum head, that stretched skin moving back and forth really fast.
Yeah, I could picture that.
That rapid movement, that's what we call vibration. And as the drum head vibrates, it bumps into the air molecules around it, kind of pushing them around.
So those air molecules start to vibrate too.
Exactly. They start bumping into their neighbors and so on and so forth, creating a wave that travels outwards.
Kind of like a domino effect.
You got it. And those waves traveling through the air, those are what we call sound waves.
So sound is basically just moving air.
Well, it's moving air carrying energy from the vibration, but the word sound itself actually goes back to the ancient Romans.
Oh, really? Tell me more.
They had a word, sonus, and guess what it meant?
Sound.
Spot on. Even way back then, they recognized the power and importance of what we're talking about today.
That's so cool. Okay, so we've got these sound waves traveling through the air, but how do they actually get inside our ears and become something we can hear?
Now that's where the real magic happens. You see, our ears are like these incredibly sensitive instruments designed to capture those sound waves.
So they're kind of like antennas for sound.
Perfect analogy. Those sound waves enter the ear canal and travel toward the eardrum, a thin membrane stretched tight like a drum.
And then what?
When the sound waves hit the eardrum, they make it vibrate, just like the drum head we were talking about earlier.
Wow, so it's vibrations all the way down.
You're catching on quickly. But the journey doesn't stop there. Behind the eardrum, there's this whole intricate system of tiny bones, the smallest in your whole body, in fact, and fluid-filled chambers.
Whoa, that's pretty complex for something so small.
It is. And those bones and fluids, they work together to amplify and transform the vibrations from the eardrum into signals, electrical impulses.
So they're translating the vibrations into a language our brain can understand.
Precisely. Those signals then zoom off to the brain, traveling along the auditory nerve, and the brain is the one that interprets them as sound.
It's like our ears are these awesome microphones picking up sound and sending the information to our brain's control center.
Exactly. Isn't it remarkable how our bodies work?
It really is. But I've noticed that some sounds are louder than others. Like a whisper is very different from, say, a jet engine.
That's a keen observation. And you're right, we use something called decibels to measure the intensity or loudness of sound.
Decibels, okay. So the higher the decibel level, the louder the sound.
Exactly. Think of it like a scale. A whisper might be around 15 decibels, while a normal conversation is usually around 60 decibels.
And what about really loud sounds, like that jet engine?
Well, that can reach up to 140 decibels or even more. But remember, those really loud sounds can actually be harmful to our ears if we're exposed to them for too long.
That's important to remember. Protect those ears, everyone.
Couldn't agree more. Now, speaking of sound, there's one type that I find especially fascinating. Music.
Oh, me too. Music is awesome. But what exactly makes it different from just any other sound?
That's a great question. You see, music isn't just random noise. It's organized sound, carefully arranged using specific patterns of sounds and silences.
So it's like sound with a purpose.
I like that way of putting it. And those patterns, they create things like melody and rhythm, which are the building blocks of music.
Melody and rhythm. So the melody is like the tune of a song, right? The part you hum along to.
You're exactly right. It's the sequence of notes played one after another that creates the memorable tune of a song.
And the rhythm is how it makes you tap your feet.
Precisely. Rhythm is all about the timing and the patterns of the sounds and silences. It's what gives music its groove, its pulse, its beat. Think about your favorite song again. There's a certain beat to it that makes you want to dance or move along, right?
Yeah, I get it. So melody and rhythm are like the heart and soul of music.
Beautifully said. And there's another element we can't forget. Harmony.
Harmony. What's that?
Harmony is what happens when different notes are played together at the same time.
So instead of one note at a time, like in a melody, we're hearing multiple notes blending together.
Exactly. It's like adding different colors to a painting to make it more visually interesting. Harmony adds depth and richness to the sound.
It's like the music is more complete, more layered.
That's a great way to think about it. And different combinations of notes create different harmonies, some that sound happy and bright, others that sound more dramatic or even a little sad.
Wow, so there's a whole world of sound just waiting to be explored in music.
There is. And music has this amazing power to connect with us emotionally. Think about how a certain song can make you feel happy or sad or even inspired.
That's true. Music can make you feel all sorts of things.
It really can. And speaking of the power of sound, I'm reminded of a question that's puzzled people for ages. Have you ever heard of the falling tree thought experiment?
The falling tree. Tell me more. It goes like this. If a tree falls in a forest and there's no one around to hear it, does it make a sound? What do you think?
Whoa, that's a tricky one. On the one hand, I know that when something falls, it creates vibrations.
Right, that's the physics of it. The falling tree definitely disturbs the air, creating those sound waves we talked about.
But if there are no ears to pick up these vibrations, is it really a sound? I mean, sound is what we hear, right?
That's the philosophical side of things. It makes you think about the nature of sound itself and whether it exists independently of a listener.
It's almost like the tree makes the potential for sound, but it only becomes an actual sound when someone is there to hear it. Exactly. It's a fascinating question that highlights the interplay between the physical world and our perception of it.
It really makes you think. Speaking of experiencing sound, I was reading this book called Under the Greenwood Tree and came across a passage that beautifully describes the sound of wind through trees.
Oh, I love Thomas Hardy. What did the passage say?
Here it is. It was the movement of the wind among the trees, and it drew near, like the flight of birds. As the melody became more and more distinct, it increased in loudness and fullness, till its notes swelled forth with all the round richness of an organ. Then it dwindled again, receded, and grew fainter, and at last sank into the silence out of which it had come.
That's stunning. Hardy really has a way with words, making you feel like you're right there in the forest listening to the wind.
It's like he painted a sound picture with his words.
And the way he describes those subtle changes in the sound is remarkable. The increasing volume, the richness of the tone, and then the gradual fade back into silence.
Yeah, it's like the wind is almost a musical instrument itself.
That's a beautiful thought. Speaking of music, did you know the word music itself has a pretty interesting history?
I didn't. Tell me about it.
It comes from the Latin word musica, which is connected to the muses.
The Muses. Who were they?
In Greek mythology, the muses were these goddesses, each representing a different art form, like poetry, dance, and of course, music.
So music has been considered an important art form for a very long time.
Absolutely. And it's played a vital role in human cultures throughout history, bringing people together, expressing emotions, and even helping us understand the world around us.
Wow, we've covered so much today. It's amazing to think about how sound works, from those tiny vibrations to the incredible complexity of our ears and brains.
And we've only just scratched the surface. There's a whole universe of sound waiting to be explored.
That's true. So keep listening, keep asking questions, and maybe one day you'll be the one making new discoveries about the amazing world of sound.
Keep exploring, everyone. Until next time.
Bye for now.